On today's show, I will be joined by Robby Kalland of UPROXX Sports and DIME talk about the NBA playoffs and the conference finals as 7 games have happened, 4 in the East, 3 in the West, as we talk to you on Monday evening into Tuesday. Plenty to discuss, big picture stuff, how it applies to the rest of the NBA, and much more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1245 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Rowland. It is Monday evening going into Tuesday, and I felt it was time to talk about the NBA playoffs and the Hawks not participating in them. But listen, it's the offseason. I feel like talking about the playoffs, and I'm joined by my friend, Robby Kalland, to discuss all things conference finals. Hello, Robert.
What's going on, man?
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, that was technically a basketball game we just watched. One team showed up.
Yeah, I mean, the part of the problem, I'm not sure it's a problem, but part of the thing about trying to talk about the conference finals is that they're every other day, so you kind of have to record late at night at least once to cover any kind of timeliness. Right. So we waited till after the Eastern Conference game on this Monday, thinking it might be competitive. It was not competitive in a kind of bizarre way. Not that Boston winning was a huge shock, right, but them leading by 32 points in the third. I think it was like 28 in the first half, something like that at one point.
Miami just couldn't score. 18-1 start to the game. I don't think I've ever seen that. I've never seen a team have 1 point with like 5 minutes to go in the quarter.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole injury stuff as well that we can get into, but Miami missed 14 shots in a row to begin the game.
Awful.
Like you said, 1.9 minutes. They, by the way, game 3, where Miami won in Boston, they scored 39 points in the first quarter of game 3.
Yes,
and
40 points. 40 points.
They had 1.9 minutes. So, I mean, there's a lot to get into. Yeah. What I will say is my opening salvo on this series is that, we talked about this offline during the game, but it's 2-2 now, and it feels like Boston is up 3-1, and they're not. Just as a reminder, Miami has home court in this series, and now the series is going back to Miami for game 5 and potentially game 7. And I get why Boston's seen as a favorite. They are probably the more talented team, but Miami, as bad as they were tonight, they're still in fine shape. It's kind of a weird series all the way around, but that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, it's, part of it is we don't know game to game who's going to play. All these guys have knee, nobody has a severe injury, but everybody has a muscle, knee soreness, these sorts of things. So it's all right, Marcus Smart's ankle swelled up, so he didn't play in game 4. It's Tyler Hero's got the groin, Kyle Lowry's got the hamstring that started in the Hawks series.
Jimmy's knee
still lingering. Jimmy's got the knee. We don't know how much that impacted him tonight. Not enough where the Heat should have scored 1 point in 9 minutes, but it played a role. And so everybody, Robert Williams has the knee, and it's kind of it's so hard from game to game to figure out what guys are going to look like. And I don't know how you go about trying to predict this thing other than I guess you say and Tatum's even got the shoulder thing, which didn't seem to bother him too much in this one. But I will say he was short on every single 3. And so as you look going forward, it's how much is that shoulder stinger thing where he was getting worked out every time he was on the bench? They were getting in there with the massage and they were trying to work it out. If he can't shoot from distance, and Boston shot terribly all game. In the game they were up 32, they could not buy a 3. It was really bizarre. That's how bad Miami was playing and how much Boston was able to get out in transition, especially. I'm with you. It feels like everybody's talking we're going to get Celtics Warriors. And I would feel that way if Boston had done what they should have done in game 3. They had no business losing that game.
Yep.
But they did. And so it's 2-2. You go back to Miami. We know that they play better at home. We know that their shooters should receive a little bump from going back home. And I'm with you. I think we were talking, and I think you said 60-40 Boston, and I think that's probably correct. I would agree with you there. I don't see this as being just a landslide lock for the Celtics, because like I think the Jimmy injury feels a little fresher, and he played so poorly tonight that you feel like, oh, is Jimmy going to be right? And if he's not right, the Heat are cooked. Like, I want to go ahead and preface this. If Jimmy's knee is bad enough that it's going to keep him from being any kind of explosive on offense, then they're cooked because they have to have him going for 25 to 30 and orchestrating everything. Because Kyle Lowry obviously can't go at his normal full strength pace. We've seen that since he's tried to come back. But like Tatum, I wasn't, he played pretty well, when he was able to go downhill. But if the shooting's not there, like that's a genuine concern if that shoulder is bothering him with the shot. And I don't think that's going to get talked about much because he had 31 and because they kind of buried them early. That is a legit concern going forward as well. And if both stars are banged up, then it's a toss up. But I would agree with the general consensus that I trust Tatum a little more than Jimmy on a game-to-game, which is, to score, because I think he can do it in a variety of ways. But if the shooting's not there, then that is a different thing. Then he kind of becomes Jimmy, right? Like, then he has to score in the same ways Jimmy has to score. He's just tall.
And then you trust Jimmy more because Jimmy's better at everything else. Like, that's the one huge advantage Tatum has against Jimmy, is that he's a much better shooter.
Yes.
Although Jimmy somehow annually in the playoffs makes shots. I don't know how he does it, but he just starts to make threes again. But no, I agree with your point. I mean, granted, without Hero, and I'm not the biggest Hero guy, everyone knows that, but they do need him offensively, particularly if Jimmy doesn't have it. Like, he's the only other guy on the roster that can really create shots.
And Kyle, like if Kyle's not able to do, like, he looks cooked in the half court. It's pretty clear he doesn't have the step right now.
No, and my friend of the pod, Glenn Willis, talked about this even back to the Hawks series. Like, once it became clear Lowry didn't have his normal juice, like, he almost hurts them in a lot of ways. Now he helps them getting them out in the transition. He's really good at pushing the pace and all that stuff and sort of digging down defensively, but he's not a huge offensive plus at this point. That's for sure.
He's not an offensive plus, and people have been kind of able to go at him defensively.
Well, he's a step slow. He just can't run. I mean, I know he's big and thick, and that's obviously very useful, but Gabe Vincent is a better defender than Kyle Lowry in a lot of ways right now. Obviously, he's not as strong, but he's more athletic.
Well, the thing is like Boston seems to have realized that they've learned the lesson. You don't try to post Kyle Lowry. That's fool's gold. It's the same thing with PJ Tucker. It's all those guys, but you can attack him in space. And you can really kind of make him, if you make him move and you make him work on the perimeter in space, like, you can get by him, and then you collapse their defense. And like you said, like it puts a hamper on what they can do. And it's interesting because if you're Miami and he can kind of go, like, you have to have him out there some. But I'm with you. I think there have to be some decisions to be made if he's not able to create shots for himself down the stretch.
For sure. I want to do some more on this series as it goes back to Miami. But first, before we get to that, and also we'll look ahead to whatever's left of the Western Conference Finals later on. But first, a word from our sponsors on the podcast today. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. If you're looking for a daily fantasy option this year, check out the award-winning app at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love it, and I know that you will too. It's so very easy to use, and that's part of the appeal of PrizePicks. All you do is pick 2 to 5 players and over-under on their projections. What up 10 times on any entry? It's just you against the computer and the projected numbers. An entire entry can be made in just a minute or less. It's just that easy and timely, and they have safe and fast withdrawals. PrizePicks has props on anything you can think of in the basketball world. That includes points and rebounds, assists, even steals. They have mixed sports entries as well. So if you actually like MMA or soccer or baseball or hockey, pair it all together and use those skills at the same time. For a limited time, PrizePicks also has an exclusive offer for all of our users. It's a no-brainer. $50 for free if a player in your first entry at PrizePicks scores even a single point if you use the promo code NBA. That's right, exclusively for Locked On fans. It's a promo code. It's NBA. Sign up right now. Use the code NBA. $50 for free if a player in your first entry scores even a single point. Check it all out today at PrizePicks. Robby, a couple more things on the East. I thought it was stark, and we just got done talking about how Jimmy is the guy that, this is very obvious, but he has to be great for Miami on offense. But part of that is that Bam, after he finally had the big Bam game in game 3, where he was really aggressive, and I like Bam a lot. He's really good, but he's never been the super aggressive offensive force that he possibly can be. He finally did it in game 3. He comes out in game 4, takes 2 shots in the first half. Takes five shots in the game. Like I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's the situation. Nobody was good. I'm not saying it was all on Bam. It definitely wasn't. But I was just I can't help but just kind of notice that maybe that game 3 was fool's gold in some respect for Bam. And again, he's a good player defensively. He's even good on offense. But I'm not sure you can rely on him being aggressive. And if Jimmy's not himself, or even if Jimmy is himself, honestly, they're probably going to need one more Bam game in this series. And can they get it? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me with Bam is he kind of he has the same issues to me that like DeAndre Ayton has, where you look at him and you look at his really good games and you go, man, like this dude's got it. He's got everything. He can do everything you want a center in the modern NBA to do. And if you catch him on the right nights, like it's easy to fall in love with him and say, like, this is a max guy. This is a guy that, this is a cornerstone franchise player. And then you just have nights where he disappears and you don't really understand why. Like he posted up Derek White at one point and Boston didn't send any immediate help. And instead of taking him down deeper onto the block, he turns in over his right shoulder, going to his left hand to go up, turns over his right shoulder for some reason into the lane, into help, has the ball low, gets it stripped clean by Derek White one-on-one in the post. And even if he doesn't, he's going to shoot a 10-foot, 9-foot left-handed baby hook.
Right. It's just he just does weird. He just really weird stuff.
What are we doing?
And it's the thing is,
and Ayton does the same thing. Like they are to me the same level of frustration. Where you go, and Ayton's been in the league for less time, so you still kind of have that feeling. Maybe he puts it together. But I think Bam is, I don't even want to say a cautious tale for Ayton because Bam's awesome. But I think that's kind of what you're looking at is like, can he ever take that step to go beyond that, to go be an Embiid type, to go be, one of these guys that you just go to over and over and over and over. And Bam's just not that dude. And I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's because he plays with these and Ayton kind of in the same way, like they play with these extremely strong personality A-type guards and wing players. So you have Jimmy Butler, you have Chris Paul, you have Devin Booker, you have Kyle Lowry now. And it's like, it's easy to kind of fit in when they're feeding you. But in the games where they need those guys to take over and need them to dominate a matchup where they are the advantage and the other guys might not have it, it's so hit or miss, and it's not something you can rely on. And it's a problem for Miami. It's going to be a problem for Miami, especially if they were to somehow get to the finals, because like they're going to need Bam against the Warriors too. Like they would need the best version of him because like, look, we're seeing Kevon Looney just outplaying people right now. And then you've got Draymond Green obviously lurking there who's going to make his life difficult. But we see what Bam can do. I mean, you look back at the bubble and what he did against Giannis. Like when he took that challenge, he was dominant in that series.
Yeah.
And I think people have been waiting to see that specific version, that guy from the 5-game series in the bubble, again in a full series, in a full playoff run. We haven't seen it yet.
No, and I agree with you on all of that. And look, he's always good defensively. He's a really good passer for a center, and like all that stuff is kind of just implied. I don't want to make sure we just say it out loud.
Oh, yeah,
but
no.
He can definitely, yeah. I just think that he has to be more aggressive, and it was apparent to me early in this one that like he had to do more, and he just didn't have it for whatever reason. It's probably a mindset thing. Whereas with Ayton, it's like he's just for some reason hardwired to just want to impress you with 9-footers. Like he just cannot go to the rim.
Does the same thing.
He does, but
that's my thing. Is like they both do the same annoying stuff. Where you're like, do you realize you're the biggest person on the floor? Like when Robert Williams isn't out there, like you cannot be like this is a podcast that loves Al Horford.
By the way, Al Horford 13 rebounds tonight. How about that?
Rebounding Al Horford. By the way, every single veteran that just kind of is in a lull should go to OKC for 1 year sabbatical.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. Play like 30 games. Get some scrimmages in. Get some touches. Shut it down when it's time to tank. Get your buyout or your trade. Get back to the preferred destination. Perfect. The Al Horford method.
I will just say it didn't work for Kemba Walker.
Yeah, Kemba's just.
But he wasn't there. He wasn't there for a full year.
He wasn't there long enough.
And he had the.
Well, he didn't play.
Yeah, he didn't play and all that stuff. No, not to get off the rails, but it really is interesting to me because you know what you have in PJ Tucker, who is an awesome player, but he's not going to give you a lot on offense. He's just not. So if you don't have anything going to the rim other than Jimmy, it's a tough scene because then you're relying on your perimeter guys. And maybe Duncan Robinson found something tonight. He hit 4 threes in the fourth quarter. I don't know if that means anything. It was all garbage time, but we'll see. On the Boston side, I can't believe this is. I'm looking at the box score right now for tonight's game in Game 4.
It doesn't make sense that they won.
It doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. Because this is you and I talking, I'll frame it in a betting context. If you told me I could have Miami plus 19.5.
Yes,
and you tell me also that Boston shoots 40% from the floor and 23% from three in the game,
yep,
I would have bet my life savings and more on Miami.
That's correct.
Just to translate that into non-betting terms, the fact that Boston won this game by 20 points, shooting 8 of 34 from three and 40% from the floor, and it wasn't like Miami turned the ball over a lot. They had 9 turnovers. In fact, Miami won the turnover battle in this game. I mean, the whole box score, it's basically just the free throw line for the most part. And the fact that Miami
38 free throws is a lot. But that goes to
it was aggressive.
It was aggression, and it was the difference in the type of 2-point shots. Miami
your floater rant
would not stop taking floaters.
In the first quarter, especially, like it was Gabe Vincent from 9 feet, and it was
PJ Tucker.
Jimmy missed a couple. Strus missed a couple.
Almost airballed one. Bam with his little baby hooks. Like somebody get close enough to touch the backboard. You're professional basketball players.
The only guy that really tried even was, other than Jimmy, was Oladipo, and while he actually was the only guy who had a good game for them on offense, it is a reminder that Oladipo is not the guy he used to be physically. Like, he's not that good at the rim anymore. He used to be great at the rim.
Yeah,
he's really not anymore. But yeah, it was stark. And it's a reminder of what they have too, because again, it really is only Jimmy and Bam that can really do that. Tucker is a guy who's going to rebound for you a little bit, but Strus is a shooter. Lowry can't go to the rim anymore. You got Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Cody Martin, etc. Like
Caleb Martin.
Sorry, Cody Martin. They look alike. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Similar.
They are twins. But yeah, it's
Division 2. It's really confusing.
It really is. But no, I don't know. This box score is just frustrating me. But
this is definitely a night where you had to watch the game to even understand.
And we did. We covered it, and it was happening.
It was awful to watch. But
yeah, it was.
That's
Jaylen Brown goes 5 of 20, and it doesn't matter at all.
He was
terrible
to start.
Yeah,
he looked. Why can't he dribble anymore?
Even on the game,
all playoffs.
Didn't he have? Because he had 40 recently. Was it Game 3? He had 40.
Yeah.
And he couldn't dribble that game either. I think he had 8 turnovers, 7 turnovers.
7 or 8.
It is. Yeah, it's very strange.
It's been like going back to the Bucks series. Like he had multiple games, or not the Bucks. The Bucks series. He had like multiple games where he was just getting ripped clean constantly on drives, and it was like, whoa.
It's just to put a pin in it. Like this entire series has just been totally off the rails, and I'm kind of glad it's competitive because the West isn't competitive at the moment. But competitive is loose because
it's competitive in the grand scheme.
Yeah, I mean,
in the micro, it's been hideous.
So Boston's 2 wins are by 45 points combined, and it probably should have been more.
Oh my god!
And then Miami, the Game 3 was kind of close, but it was a weird game. They led the whole way, all that stuff. So I guess before we close up on the East, I'm leaning Boston at this point. But again, to bring it full circle, the injury stuff is just a big shrug. Like if let's say that Marcus Smart was out for the series, which we don't know.
Sure.
If he's out, maybe I start leaning more towards Miami again. But if Hero's out, and a guy, again, I'm not super high on Hero, but what we saw tonight, they do need his offense. Like he has to be guarded, if nothing else. You have to pay attention to Tyler Hero.
Yep.
If Robert Williams is just out, because like by the second half of this game, he was kind of limping around again. I don't know what's going on there. He's a day by day question at all times right now.
I've never seen a series with two teams that have guys like this that are in one game and out the next. Like I can't remember.
Well, the Jimmy thing is so weird too. Like Jimmy
half,
because this is a Hawks podcast, of course, and inexplicably Jimmy misses Game 5 against the Hawks.
Right.
Like it just kind of came out, and he wasn't listed on the injury report, and just suddenly he was just gone for Game 5.
Right, and that was knee soreness too, right?
Yeah, and they win the game, so he gets a few days off, comes back, looks great, all that stuff, and then during half, the same thing, no injury mechanism, just coming out of halftime, we're covering the game, and it's like, by the way, Jimmy Butler's out for the game. It's like, what?
Here's Oladipo, and Jimmy's out.
And Oladipo didn't play a second in the first half of Game 3, and then starts the second half. Just an insane. This whole series is so bizarre.
And Spo's rotations are like impossible to predict.
Yeah, I mean Robinson is the guy making $90 million, doesn't play at all, and I get why. He's not, defensively it's tough. But Oladipo DNP for full halves, and then he's playing 20 minutes and a half.
Can we wade into this? We discussed this
to Duncan.
Yeah,
it's not going well.
Like
go blue and all, but that's not going well.
What would be the offers out there? Anything? Like, is there anything they could get for him?
I mean, they could.
Would there be a team that would be like, no, like $18 million a year, we can get that out?
I don't think a team would take him as a neutral value. I don't think. Maybe you could find. I mean, there's always one, maybe. But I think, especially with what we've seen in this playoffs and Miami. They're trying to win the championship, so this is not a concern for them right now. But it doesn't really show. It doesn't really give you a lot of leverage when you're not playing the guy at all in the playoffs and he's healthy.
No.
So it's kind of he's better than Davis Bertans, but it's very Davis Bertans like in the contract and the strengths and weaknesses.
That's interesting.
He is better than I think he's better than Bertans. I do believe that, and he's more of Bertans is kind of a tough fit because he's really a 4 that can't guard anybody, whereas Duncan's really a 2 that's 6'9" or wherever he is. But yeah, I mean, that could be its own podcast. But that contract does not look great, especially because Max Strus is just like flat out better than him.
Yeah, wow, what a turn of events.
Yeah, it's a tough scene.
Go blue, though. I know that
absolutely
for you.
All right, before we go to the West quickly, and then maybe look ahead to your, I can make you pick the finals at some point on this podcast.
I can't wait.
Before we do that, though, one final break to hear from our sponsor of the podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Rock Auto. And the auto world, as soon as it makes the miles these days, it's basically impossible for your local chain store dealership stock all the car and truck parts that you actually need. And even if they actually have them, you want to endure all the questions from the person behind the counter. All they want to do is sell you what they want to sell you from behind the counter or in the warehouse or wherever. Instead of doing all of that, access to rockauto.com brings you everything that you possibly want in a safe and easy place. And it's a much better option on the go in your pocket. Rockauto.com is that place for all of those things. Why spend more for the exact same auto parts at a chain store or dealership when you can order them all at rockauto.com? Rockauto.com is family business. They've been serving customers for more than 2 decades at this point, and Rock Auto's prices are reliably low for each and every customer. They have all the stuff that you possibly need for your car or your truck. That includes brake parts and tail lamps, motor oil, even carpet. Check out the website right now at rockauto.com today. See all the parts available for your car or your truck. And when you get there, write Locked On in the box that asks you how you heard about rockauto.com so they know that we sent you to them. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Robbie, let's talk about the West quickly. We're recording this Monday evening into Tuesday. It's never my brand on this podcast is to be pedantic and just say it's not over, but it is. It's probably over.
In the words of Kenny Smith, it's over.
No NBA team has ever come back from 3-0. It's never happened in the NBA. It's happened in baseball.
146-0, I believe, is the number right now.
Yeah. So, especially when you factor in that they also have to win twice in Chase Center,
where no one has.
Yeah, the Warriors, by the way, are 8-0 in the playoffs at home with a plus 15 net rating in those games.
Where they will have home court in the finals.
And they will have home court in the finals. They are scoring at will in the series, and I know you talked about this a lot in other places. The fact that they have a 121 offensive rating in the series while turning the ball over like 15% of the time. When they don't turn the ball over, they are doing whatever they want to do. That goes back not just this series, the entire playoffs. That essentially, when the Warriors are not kicking the ball around, they have been unstoppable.
Which they do love to just.
I mean, they were 29th. They were 29th in the league in turnover rate this year. They were like god awful during the regular season too.
It is a treat for them. Like I really think.
And then they just stop. Like
Steph just can't live unless he throws a behind the back pass.
Well, and the splits too. Like the first half, they turn the ball over at will, and then it's like okay. At halftime, they'll look around like, all right, let's just play again.
Steve Kerr just goes along. It's like
fellas, please,
don't turn it out of your system.
And the third quarter has been their quarter for
what ever 6-7 years now,
and it's still the case now. Game 3 was wild. I know it was 2 days ago as we're recording this, but Dallas gets 86 points from Luka, Dinwiddie, and Brunson, and they lose. Yeah, and they lose fairly convincingly at the end of the game. Yeah, the quartet of Reggie Bullock, Max Kleber, Davis Bertans, and our guy Frank Ntilikina, those 4 guys combined to shoot 0-15 from 3.
Listen, hey, hang on. We're going to leave Frank and his one forced 3 out of this.
Listen,
okay,
I'm just saying
he played his job.
It wasn't his fault.
We're going to leave Frankie Smokes out of this.
That's fine. And listen,
but job is to put clamps on.
Part of the issue with Dallas is that they don't have any depth, so they're kind of forced to play the Josh Green, Frankie Smokes combination, and that's not going to work.
No.
And listen, part of my
long ways from Thomas and Mack.
Yes, we are. Part of my rancor in this series is with the Suns. Because this should just be the Suns, and
why are we doing this?
This should be the Suns. I think the Warriors probably would have won that series based on what we've seen so far. But the fact that Dallas is there is, they look overmatched in the series. That's not a huge surprise. I thought it was going to be more competitive than this, though, I'll be honest. I thought it was going to be pretty competitive, and it's not been.
Well, but they should have won game 2.
They should have won game 2. I was going to say, they should have won game 2.
2-1 series, and we should be talking about it being a 2-1 series where they could even things up in game 4.
Exactly. That is what this series should have been, probably, and they did not hold on and win that game. And that's
just like the East series should be a 3-1 series. We should be talking about how Boston's trying to close things out.
Yep.
And we should be talking about how the Mavs are trying to even things up. But
no, and it's
as Larry Drew says, it's a game of runs.
One, I actually I talked to this has not been published yet, but I talked to Kevin Sharp about this, and so it's sort of a teaser for later on this week. But the Dallas defense was really impressive against Phoenix. They really were. Now, part of that was Phoenix, but Dallas played really well defensively. But if you go up and down their roster, their talent level defensively is not incredibly high. Yeah. They have some guys for sure. Like Kleber's a good defender. Obviously, DFS is a great defender. But Luka's getting picked on a lot in the series, and rightly so. He's just been a weakness, and he's going to be a weakness for a while. And he's really slow, and that I think Golden State is taking advantage of it in a positive way. But the big thing is Dallas isn't scoring at the rate that they have to score. I kind of knew they wouldn't be able to stop Golden State, and aside from Luka and occasionally one of the other guys, they just don't have a lot going on offense right now.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Their hope against Golden State was that they could do what Houston couldn't do, and that's outshoot them.
Make shots.
Games. Yeah. Here's the thing about playing Golden State when you're that team. You can win games shooting. You can win some. You're going to beat them on a couple nights. But the problem is on the nights where they don't shoot well, and you also don't shoot well from 3,
you lose.
Golden State is going to beat you 90% of the time. And it's because they're so good at pushing off of misses. So you play right into their hands because every single person on the floor, other than Looney, is going to get out and go. They're such a good offensive rebounding team that you don't get all the same opportunities. This is the second straight series that they've just punished somebody on the glass, right?
Dallas can rebound. That's the other thing about Dallas is they don't turn the ball over at all, which is a huge thing. It's actually very Hawks-like than that they are top 3 in the league in turnover rate, but they're losing every other part of the possession battle because of the rebound. They can't rebound.
They're and it's not just Looney. It's not just a size thing. Andrew Wiggins had 7.
No, I mean it's a physicality thing too because Dallas is 6. the only way that Dallas can score in the series is to play 5 out and play small with Kleber, and it worked for them in the Phoenix series. That's what they have to do, but they don't have DFS is a decent athlete, but Wiggins is by far the best athlete on the court at all times in this series.
Yep.
Dallas doesn't have a guy like that. I mean, they're already playing small, and yeah, Luka is not small, but he's not going to go like dominate physically in some respects.
He's big. He's a decent rebounder.
He's a good rebounder, actually. No, he is a good rebounder, actually.
He's a good rebounder, but part of the problem is
he's playing the 4 basically in that lineup, though.
Well,
like, it's not like
he gets his biggest problem is like because he's getting switched on so much on defense, he's not in a rebounding position because they're going at him.
Targeting him. Yeah.
Then you have like DFS trying to box out Wiggins, or you have Brunson down there. They like so many times they end up with Brunson down there. And that's the other part of this switching thing is like you play this 5-out switch everything style when you don't necessarily have the defenders do it. But it's not just that you don't have the point of attack defenders to do it. It's more that they don't have anybody on the back end. So like Golden State's shooting terribly this series. Like Golden State, they have been bad from 3. Sure. They've been bad from 3.
It's a layup. It's a layup.
2 of the games.
I mean, Steph knows it too, especially Steph, and I think Jordan Poole too. They realize that I think Kleber's actually quite a good defender, but he's not going to change your life at the rim.
Well, he's a good big on the perimeter, which is why they feel comfortable switching.
Yep.
But
there's nobody there.
There's nobody on the back end, and so there's no rim protection, and there's no second. There's nobody stopping Looney from getting 13 on the glass every night.
No,
because he's just great at positioning, and he's going to be down there. And like Dallas is just, I mean they have to hit a ton of threes to have a chance, and they just haven't done it. But game 2 is when they had to do it. But like the biggest thing that drives me crazy about what Dallas is doing offensively is like when they start going cold, they don't have a secondary pitch, right? Like they can't go like if the fastball's just off the plate, to go to a deep baseball reference here, they can't find the zone with the fastball.
Sure.
They don't have an off speed to go to. Like they just don't.
No.
They have to be like when you play Golden State, you can't let them have those 9-0, 10-0, 12-0 runs. You have to be able to get a bucket, get to the foul line, get to the rim, something. But when you miss 5 straight threes, you're going to give up that 10-0 run.
They had to make it.
And then it's over.
Yeah, no.
I agree. Because the fourth quarter, what happens is I don't care how good Luka becomes, they can't get consistent stops. You can't come back from 10 down. Like in game 4, like they got it to 5. Like they were never down by more than like 15. No. It felt like a 25-point game. They were down 12 almost all quarter.
Because they couldn't stop them.
You can't get a stop, and so you can't build a run.
Well, and, not to make it super simple, but I just pulled this up. Dallas is shooting for the series 41% from the floor, which is terrible. That's like league worst mark, and 32% from 3. And like that's the series. Like if they don't make shots, they're drawing dead. And I'm not saying they were going to win the series anyway, but if they were going to shoot 32% from 3, they had no chance in the series. They had to shoot well because, by the way, they're taking 46 threes a game in the series.
I mean, it's legit the Rockets' plan.
Well, and that's reasonable, I think.
Well, it's the only thing it's all they got.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
is he going to the dice move too much? Like, that's all he's got.
There's this debate going on I saw on Twitter, especially during the game because it was over a lot of the ways down the stretch. But basically, like, are they taking too many threes? And it's the everlasting discussion of, I'm kind of on the side of no, because that's how they got here, number one. And that's their best plan of attack. They just can't afford to miss them. And the Rockets thing is a good example of it. Like they just can't. I mean, those 4 guys, or let's just say 3 guys, shooting 0 of 14 from 3 in game 3.
Let Frank be.
That's fine. We'll leave Frank out of this. But like the fact that they got 80 plus points from their 3 scorers and still lost, like it's a math problem. If you don't make threes, you can't win this series. They're not going to, they just can't.
And it's funny. It's, Warriors fans are being Warriors fans. And so they're mad that the Luka has no help narrative has popped into vogue. because people were picking
People
the
did pick Dallas. No, this is not a situation where this. I will give them this.
They were getting picked. People were lost in the sauce coming out of that Phoenix series. And the funny thing is, it didn't take long for us to learn that there was some deeper stuff going on in the Phoenix locker room, whatever that
it was happening by the time Monty was at the podium after the game.
That like we knew something was off. That was more than like, oh my God, like Dallas took down the Suns. Like the Suns kind of imploded on themselves. Like there's a lot of rumblings going on about a lot of bad stuff internally in Phoenix where it was just not good. Like DeAndre Ayton's sleeping 2 hours a night so he can play video games, and like Monty Williams
doing an interview about it for some reason with ESPN in the middle of the playoffs. I don't know why. Why would you say yes to that? Is my question. Anyway.
Anyway. Yeah. I've gotten out of the prediction game for a reason. In print, there's no upside. Nobody's like reading to be like, what's Robby got in the West Finals?
I will say, people. There were still more people picking the Warriors than the Mavs.
Well, sure, but it was much closer than it should have been.
Yeah,
it was much closer.
And look, I mean, you said it.
I'm with you. I thought it would maybe be 6 games.
Dallas should have won game 2, and then this series is not over at this point. Like, Golden State's still a favorite.
I always said Warriors in 6.
Right. I mean, I would have probably, if I had to pick the series, would have picked something like that as well. Yeah, and I would not have thought that Golden State was just going to kill them in the series coming in for sure. And Luka's been pretty good on offense. Is that he's being targeted defensively, and that has to be said again. Like he's the guy with the target on his back.
It's
a problem.
I mean, he's scoring 40 and he's giving up.
He's giving up a lot back. Yeah, it's not good for him defensively. But like, I don't know.
I'll say this: if we're I've been the first to say Trey's got to get better defensively if the Hawks are gonna go somewhere. Luka's got to do the same thing for Dallas because it is.
They cannot avoid each other for whatever reason. Those two guys are going to be linked forever, but it really is
forever and ever.
It's and like it's because of different reasons. Like for Trey is a size thing. Luka is a speed thing.
They could trade each other some.
Yeah, if you could just get some size. On Trey and
Luka could throw 20 pounds to Trey and like 1 inch to Trey.
That'd be helpful.
And then like Trey could shave like a half a second off Luka's 40 time, and we would be in business, Bubba.
Last thing I want to make sure I say this. Like, yeah, I do think if you look at the numbers and even if you watch, as crazy as it sounds, Dallas I think is losing on offense more than defense in this series because like Dallas is scoring. They have a 106 offensive rating in the series, and like there was no path to a win at that number for Dallas.
And you're right, but also part of the reason Golden State's scoring at the clip they are
because they're missing and they're running.
Everything is in semi-transition. I mean,
I think it's the offense.
Dallas is like you said, like Dallas is good when they get set, and it's kind of the same thing in this Boston-Miami series. Is the team that's able to push immediately gets the advantage because you're going up against
defense.
Yeah. Both teams are great on defense, and like when I wrote about the series coming in, it was like. My question was, can Miami do it without Kyle Lowry? I was actually really impressed game 1 without him. They look great, which is another reason I'm like, do they really need to be playing Kyle as much as they have been if he's just not able to go? But I digress. But like, it's the same thing in this series, more so on the Mavs side, because like Luka's not going to push. Like he does not want this to be a track meet. I mean, we know, we see. And so I just think if you are, hey, out of the closet, dog, adventures,
live podcasting.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, if you're missing shots, like you're not able to get set because Golden State's going to push absolutely every single time. I mean, Draymond's moving it up the floor. Or Looney's finding Steph or Poole, and they're gone.
And when it's threes, it's even worse.
Oh yeah, because it's long rebounds and
threes.
And because you're so cross matched, it's right. Because the Warriors will switch everything too.
It's a scramble, and
then it's the
absolute opposite of the previous year. You know, this is the thing from this season is that people like us that are sickos, we pay attention, but like Dallas's offense was not that good this year. It was their defense that made them good. And their defense has not been great in the series, but it's and for me,
welcome
it's
to Jason Kidd basketball.
Yeah, it's still the offense for me that's not doing it for them. But
well,
I mean, go ahead.
No, and the other thing is they weren't used to that because the Suns don't push.
No,
that was the biggest problem the Suns had. It's like Chris Paul wants to take 8 whole seconds to get across the timeline every single time. It drives me insane. Like
they play
everybody's like, how did Jose Alvarado get 2 8-second violations on Chris Paul? And I was like, dude, Dorian Finney-Smith almost forced like 3. It was a lot of them were him like jumping across half court. And I'm like, why are you going so slow against the team that won? And it's just styles make fights, the old cliche, but like Phoenix did not punish misses in the way Golden State is. And that's been the difference, man. That has been, and it would have been interesting to see what would have happened between Phoenix and Golden State. Cause again, like I think it's a different issue, but yeah, it's been ugly. I just wish Dallas had gotten game 2 because we would have at least had something a little more interesting to discuss. Yes. Like we would have been like, yeah, the Warriors are going to win, but maybe it'll take 6 or 7.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see if Dallas just rolls over in game 4. That's always a fascinating. Like this doesn't really matter. It's sort of a low stakes thing, but I'm always interested to see how teams respond down 3-0 at home. Like because in theory, if you just want to have some pride and not get swept, you might show up. But if you get down 15 early, you're probably dead because you're just going to roll over. And
I also want to see. We've had twice. The Warriors have had road closeout games and no showed.
I mean, they were down by what 50 plus.
They down 55.
Yeah. So yeah, that might happen too.
And the Denver game wasn't much better. Game 4 in Denver was ugly.
I mean, that's Tuesday night. But
my favorite conspiracy is that there's a decree to get the extra home game revenue when the Warriors are going the road closeout.
Big Joe Lacob is calling it in.
Joey Lightyears is calling it in and cutting Draymond in on the action because Draymond will be out of the game.
I think before this one though, they probably would want the extra week before the finals.
I agree.
For people like us,
especially with the 2-2 series across the way.
Yeah, I mean, God bless the Celtics for getting back to 2-2 because at least we'll have at least 6 in that series. If not, like the finals don't start early, folks. June 2nd is the finals. It's game 1, no matter what. So I like some basketball to be played between now and then.
Yep.
Clearly, the Warriors are the favorite to win the title at this point because they're the closest to actually getting into the finals. Yep. Before we get out of here, who would you like their chances worst against? So I guess who gives the Warriors the best series between Boston and Miami? Because it's probably Boston, I think. But
I think it's Boston. I think Boston because
if they have Smart, I'll say that they need Smart.
If everybody can get it
reasonably
together and healthy, if they can have Robert Williams, if they can have Marcus Smart, it's Boston. They're just deeper than Miami. We've seen that this series. They just have more variety offensively. And while they can go through some lulls, and we've seen this, I don't think it's as bad as the Miami offense can get. And I think we're seeing with Dallas, like against Golden State, you've got to be able to put together 48 minutes of offense. And I trust Boston to do that a little bit more, if nothing else, than I trust Tatum more than Jimmy. And I especially trust Jaylen Brown to score. He might dribble it off of his knee 12 times, but he's going to score 20 more than I trust Tyler Hero or Max Strus or Kyle Lowry right now. I think Boston would give the better series and have a chance to win because, again, like all it takes is having a couple of the right shooting variance games, right? I mean, this is what the modern NBA is like you catch the right shooting night when the other team's good, but you're better and steal one. And,
especially
and that's enough to swing a series.
I mean, their defense is so good that they can. I will say this: both of these teams, I think Boston and Miami can both reasonably guard Golden State in the way that nobody else has guarded them so far. It's just that I think Boston has a better chance of scoring than Miami does.
No, that's where
that's what it comes down to. Yeah. So, I agree. I think Miami can still win the series, though. I mean, we're both picking Boston, but Miami can win the series. They are alive. I think, if anything, I've not seen the market yet. I would guess Miami's probably a decent value on the betting market based on all of Twitter and things, and everyone's just kind of penciling in Boston. I think Miami's pretty live in the series, even though I picked Boston. So
I'd guess it's probably 155,
something like that. I mean, and again, like it's probably
high.
It's probably 40, 60 Miami, something like that. So I'm not saying you have to bet it right away, but something to keep an eye on. I think Miami's at least pretty live in Game 5 at home, so we'll see how that fares. Robby, it's midnight. I'm gonna let you get out of here, but please plug anything you got going on. I know you are always doing things. We were just working tonight together, and Puntcast and all those things that you do.
Puntcast will be back. Chip's been freed, so Puntcast will be back probably for U.S. Open. I hope. Chip is back. And you can read all of our coverage over at UPROXX, UPROXX Sports, DIME on UPROXX, and we'll be prepping draft stuff here very shortly. Bradley,
we're recording this on May 23rd, which I believe is exactly 1 month from the draft. The draft is, I believe, June 23rd. So
we'll be getting ready for that, and then free agency, and then I'll see you out in Las Vegas probably.
Yeah, Summer League and all the fun stuff that happens from there. Thank you, sir, for doing this late on a Monday evening. As for everybody else, please subscribe to the show. Check out Robby's content, my content, subscribe to the podcast, all that fun stuff. We'll see you next time.